Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining the Great Dynamics podcast. My name is Ahmed Hassan, and today is, since a long time, another solo episode by just myself, yours truly. And I'll be honest, I haven't made a plan on what I wanted to talk about. I have a general idea what I wanted to talk about, but this week, no guests. There will be guests. I'm not sure if it's in the next episode, and I mean, there might be another solo episode, but I hope to do, for the first time ever, some recordings in the field. So I'm on my way to Japan for 3 weeks, starting the 14th of April. And I'll be there till the first week of May. So a good amount of time. So anybody that's a listener that likes Great Dynamics and you're based in Japan, reach out. You know where to find me, either through our email or our socials. And I would love to meet people in Japan. We'll be in Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Hiroshima, and some other places. Just reach out and now we can talk or maybe meet or whatever. So that's something that I'm going to be doing. And I have some friends in the security or intel sector in Japan. So I'm going to try to hopefully interview them in the field. So that'll be really interesting. Give you guys a bit of a different vibe to the podcast, and hopefully I can shed some light to how the industry kind of works over there. But we'll see. I haven't made any fixed plans. There's some ideas that I'm playing around with, but we'll see how it goes. Outside of that, what are we working on at Great Dynamics? So right now, we're kind of in the middle of some changes. We've been very busy with client-facing work, with bespoke intelligence. We're very busy with that at the moment in a couple places in Africa and in the Middle East. We've been trying to understand this explosion of violence, but also understanding like how does that change the security and the business landscape for our clients, and how can they anticipate. And I think I've mentioned this before. Intelligence should not be seen in a security context. It should not be seen as just risk mitigation, or it should be also seen as an opportunity, right? And I don't think that's talked about often enough. Most of our clients, they see threats, they see impact on business continuity. However, at the moment, I think we help our clients more with seeing where there's opportunities. Because on the other side of a threat is an opportunity. And I don't think that is talked about enough. So we are trying to help our clients with that. And we look at very complex problems. I think when I started Great Dynamics, I had this vision of what I wanted to do with my company. However, when, any well-laid plan meets reality, things change and you have to pivot. And we've been pivoting for many years, just trying to find our place. And for anybody really looking for any insights into the private intelligence sector, and I'm in particular more on the hard security or even on the political risk side, I would say go for hard problems. Try to solve very difficult problems. Try to stay away from what everybody else is doing. I'm not saying that everybody else is not doing difficult, is not working on hard or difficult problems. I'm just saying that there are easier ways to do business than what we do. And I think a lot of people don't know this because, well, we write so much, we produce so much content. We publish, I think, twice a day an article or report or two reports, and we have a podcast. We are really active on social media, mainly on Instagram and LinkedIn. Someone on X, I think we kind of lost our mojo a bit. On X has become a bit of a weird place where I'm getting recommended things that should be opposite from how I see the world or how I think. But it's good to see what's going on. And I think a lot of us, when we kind of live in our own bubbles, we have our own friends, and uh, we like what we like, and we watch our own TV and we listen to our podcast, and our worldview is not always like uniform with what reality sometimes is. I think it's a reality, it's a version of it. But I think you'd be surprised if you look at how other people see it. And I think people, like, especially from people with an intelligence or security background, they often say, like, well, why don't they see that? Why doesn't, person A or B see things the way I see? Why don't they read? And we have to also understand that the media diet that we're getting is so diverse, and especially in the day and age where we're choosing really our our realities, and it's really hard to stay out of any echo chambers, or and this is not in one political it's not really partisan. I think it's across the board. People are comfortable. There's some comfort in, and even myself, sometimes you get sucked into what a confirmation bias, that you like to hear people that think like you and that share your worldview, but ultimately that's not healthy. And you have to challenge yourself, like anything in life. It's important to look at different viewpoints, to look at different voices, even if you vehemently disagree with them. I think that's incredibly important. If you want to be a good intelligence professional, that's something you need to do. And it's a discussion we have a lot with young analysts, where I look at their sources, and if you go to university, generally I can pinpoint the type of sources that you like, because a lot of the status quo is still looking at like institutions that maybe today are not really unbiased. I don't know if they ever were unbiased, but these they had the perception of that. But it's really hard today to stick with like one, but to stick with a narrative that is common across the board. And I think that's very important, particularly with the advent of AI and large language models, because, and I have to openly say this, I am extremely excited what's happening in the quote unquote AI space. Um, we use it extensively, not really to write our reports or anything like that, but we love to experiment to see how far we can push it, what we could do with it, how we can supercharge our work, our workflows. And I mean, like with anything, you have to use it responsibly. You have to, maybe as analysts, you move a bit more towards a curator of some sorts, because you still have to do your analysis. I don't think that's the accountability in your work. The assessment needs to come from you, because that's shaped by your experiences, your training, your, again, your worldview, your media diet, and Uh, that's really difficult to grasp by large language models at the moment. I don't know where we will be because the state of the art is moving so fast. I feel like if you compare that with when OpenAI first came out with two today, it feels like every week there is a revolutionary leap. And maybe it's headlines, maybe it's under the cover, under the hood, as they say. Uh, there's not that much impressiveness or real change happening. Maybe it's just we're shifting around, finding new features that we could do. But I think it's really important. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling. This is something I'm thinking out loud right now because this is stuff that I have in my mind. I would love to circle back a little bit about the media diet and something about the legacy media companies. And that is the moniker that they give to new media. Let's call it that. And they they call it alternative media. And I think it's very dangerous because if the media is not coming from you or the establishment, I think it's important to understand like what people are saying and what these organizations are doing because I consider ourselves in that space. I don't know if I like alternative media. It has a bit of a negative connotation. If I could go further into that, as I mentioned earlier, in the private intelligence sector, which is changing extremely rapidly, and there is across the spectrum companies do really interesting things. I think it's really important to understand your role, number one, as leadership, but also understanding your vision, your mission statement as a company, because I don't think we can survive by being too discreet and hiding and being secretive for secretive sake. I mean, I mentioned this in previous podcasts, and so I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but it is important that to understand that if you want to be successful in today's world, every other organization, every other business is moving towards a media company model. You do need to have that side of your company. It's very important because this is the space that we're in. Marketing, I mentioned this before. Things like marketing and sales are becoming increasingly important, particularly if we're relying on things like algorithms. And algorithms can be manipulated. So it's really important to have your own voice out there as a company, to shape your own narrative, because if you don't, others will do it for you. This is something that we've put a lot of energy in at Great Dynamics, to the point that people don't really know the stuff that we do client side, and we do a lot. Not to sound arrogant or anything, we're fairly successful at it in the way we work and the types of clients we work with and the problem sets that we look at. But please do not be mistaken. And the person that I'm going to mention, I'm not going to say names. So he's a good friend of mine and he's a client, and he knows who I'm talking about when I'm saying this. But we've gotten business through some of the best business that we've gotten came through podcast listeners. So I know there's tons of podcasts out there, and I'm not saying that every company needs a podcast, but I am saying is find a medium, especially if you're leadership, if you're a CEO, if you're a manager, and have a medium that you are comfortable with, maybe socials, or it's just writing or video, whatever you feel comfortable doing consistently. I think it's important to be in that space, maybe even especially in the intelligence space, which is a conservative and fairly insular industry. And Well, Great Dynamics is a British company, and the British private intelligence market is fairly small. If you compare that with the US, for example, but if you compare it with the rest of Europe, um, the rest of Europe is even smaller. Even though it's a huge economy, the EU, but for some reason the private intelligence industry has not really taken shape, and we're seeing places like the Middle East or in the Far East. It's one of the reasons why I'm traveling to Japan, because we're seeing that uh, countries, governments, private sector in these countries, like Singapore, like Japan, the Philippines, Malaysia, South Korea, are making, are leapfrogging, traditionally well-known intelligence practitioners in the West. And even in Africa, there's some incredible companies in places like Egypt or Uganda. And I'm really happy for that the industry is growing. And I would definitely not want to forget Latin America and the Caribbean, where there's some really interesting developments happening. In this podcast, I'm going to try to have more people on from the global south. I think perspectives can teach us a lot, particularly in intelligence, since this is, as often people saying, intelligence profession is the second oldest profession. So it's good to look at, how different cultures are approaching it. And in some places, intelligence is very taboo to talk about. And not just in countries where governments are generally more stricter about it, but you know, sometimes we get messages from government organizations that don't really like that we wrote something about it, even though it's information that is published by the governments themselves. So it's hard to keep up sometimes with what is okay and what's not. So I think that's important. And so we're going to focus on, I mean, the word diversity as being dragged to the mud, but I still think it's important to have diversity in voices and in views. So I'm gonna try, although it's often a lot of Americans that you will see in the podcast, but there's just a lot of them in the intelligence space. So I hope to have more people on. I hope to have more people on from the private sector. I talk with a lot of people privately. Um, Often they're not super comfortable being on a podcast. I got questions from people asking me if we're gonna do a video podcast, and if it was up to me, I would. Not that I'm vain or anything like that, but I think it's good. However, a lot of my guests, they don't want to be on camera. They're more comfortable not being on camera, and it's that intimacy that you have with another person, even though it's over a screen, makes people often more comfortable, in my viewpoint. Even though me and the guest can see each other still, we just don't record the video feed, we just record the audio. And I mean, it's done really well. I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful for everybody that listens. I'm really grateful for people wherever I go, uh, maybe a conference or people reach out to me on LinkedIn, and please keep reaching out. I love talking with people. It's surprising to me how many people listen to this podcast, and I read the comments and the stories of how people consume this podcast. And I really apologize that the podcast has not been as consistent as it was in previous years, and I know it's not good to find excuses. I mean, the only excuse is just it's really hard to keep the tempo going when so much is going on. And in a way, it's great because it means that as a business, we're doing really well. But also, even on the private front, the reason that this podcast exists really is thanks to my wife, who pushed me when I was scared to put myself out there and to talk and to do a podcast, even though, as probably many of you that know me know that I can be a fairly private person. But the people I know, I like to talk, and my wife has, for my birthday, even bought me the equipment to do the podcast. The very first one that we recorded in, I believe, August of 2022. So it was like end of the summer ish. My friend Jay, and that was my very first podcast. If you want to amuse yourself about the podcast, and everybody says like, "Oh, you do such a good job," please listen to the first 3 or 4 episodes, and you will hear me bumbling through questions. But it's been an amazing journey, and I really appreciate it, and I'm glad that my wife pushed me to do this, to express myself in a way. And if you want to do a podcast, I'd say go for it. Think about what you want to say, and what what your angle is gonna be. But I can recommend it to anybody that's interested, and it has given me a lot of new friends and contacts, and my my business has grown a lot due to this podcast. So I'm extremely grateful, and it's a lot of work. It's hard work. In the first season of this podcast, I did everything myself. I did the scheduling, the recording, and the editing. I did all myself. I never done it before, but I kind of like watch YouTube, love YouTube, and and I mean now there's an editor, there's a video editor, and for the clips mainly, but which I'm extremely grateful for that we were able to do that, and um, it's really a joy to do this. It's hard work, and sometimes I don't want to do it, and it feels really like a chore. But every time I sit across somebody or I hear an interesting story, it's incredibly worth it. So um, the other thing I wanted to say was I see the emails. Obviously, I'm acutely aware of people asking me if you want me to talk about something on the podcast. Please email podcast at greatdynamics.com, and it will get to me if you have any questions or suggestions, or you want somebody to come on. If you want to come on, please email us, and we will look at it case by case basis. But we're always open talking to interesting people. And if you think you have an interesting story, please reach out to us. The general idea of this podcast for me was mainly for intelligence leaders, particularly in the private sector. Put yourself out there, and write, speak, interview, whatever you are comfortable with doing, and it really will transform your company. It has mine. It has done mine. I've been able to do things that I didn't think I was able to do, and to the point that I meet with people that I am big fans of, and some of them will be in the podcast that I'm talking to. That I've read their work as a young man, and that I come to find out that they're big fans of Great Dynamics. They just didn't know that I was the person behind it. So I am extremely grateful for that, and for everybody who's been listening, who's been supporting. I am extremely grateful to see your support more. Some last things I wanted to talk about was the intelligence school. That's been going really well. The course is still available, and I know people asked us in the last workshop. We There is courses coming, new ones. They just take a lot of time to do. A lot of the people that build our courses are professionals, and they're very busy, and I don't like to take too much of their times. But rest assured, some amazing courses are on their way in the next couple of months, and I think you'll be really surprised. If you want something tailor made, or you want something bespoke for your team, for yourself, if you're looking at, I have no real plans of doing a course that is focused on how to set up or how to build a private intelligence organization. People have asked me, but it's not something that is in the forefront of my mind. I built one course, and I'm happy I did that. I don't know if I can build another one, to be honest. So I rather let people that are more experienced than me do that moving forward. But if you're interested in something that is tailor made for you or for your team, please do not hesitate to reach out, because we do that all the time. And it doesn't really matter where in the world. Well, it does matter, because there's certain places, obviously, we can't do it for obvious reasons. But generally, yeah, we're very open. Most of the stuff that we do is open source. We won't teach anything classified or too sensitive, politically or otherwise. So yeah, reach out to us directly, to me directly. My email is ahmed@greatdynamics.com. It's fairly straightforward. And if you are in the corporate sector, in law enforcement, the military, whatever it may be, reach out to us. Pretty much everybody you heard on this podcast is available to do trainings. So we have an incredible array of professionals that we can set you up with, and that can make a curriculum exactly tailor-made for you. So yeah, feel free to reach out. And I've mentioned in our newsletter, if you're not member of the newsletter, sign up. You can just do that through the website. But I will say this, guys. Through the newsletter, we've seen a lot of questions, and I mean, I don't know if it's a lot of questions, but some questions, I would say. Let me not exaggerate about what I mean with we're changing some of our platforms. And that's mainly due to our subscriptions, uh, access to our reports, our insights. That's changing a lot. I cannot say exactly when that is. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to upgrade our work and bring it more in line with what we do offline with clients in the field. But yeah, please, I would really love to hear from you guys. Leave a review, leave a comment, reach out on LinkedIn, because the numbers of that listen to this podcast are more than I can even imagine, or I ever dreamed of, about the people that are tuning in. And if you're tuning in, let me know. I would love to get feedback, and if I'm terrible at it and I should quit, then even then you can reach out and tell me. Um, but again, yeah, thank you so much for listening to my ramblings. I will probably do more of these. I know I keep saying that and I don't do it, but I will do that, I promise. Keep me accountable, please. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Probably the next episode you will hear will be recorded. I mean, maybe this is the last one that I will do from my own studio, but the one after that will highly likely be recorded in Japan. That will be so the case for the weeks to come. Again, if you're in Japan and you're a fan of the podcast, please reach out. I would love to meet you guys and connect in whatever way is possible. And appreciate you guys and hope to see you guys all soon. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. And I talk to you soon. Have a good one and stay safe out there. Bye-bye.